Do you smell what The Rock is cooking in the smashing machine? This movie is written and directed by Benny Safdie, and of course, the movie stars The Rock as Mark Kerr. The movie is about former MMA fighter Mark Kerr, and it follows him from 1997 up until 2000. So the movie shows his hardship, how he is trying to become the best fighter, but he is struggling with his addiction and also other personal issues in his life. So, what I will say about the plot is pretty much, like I said, it's a sports drama. It's straightforward about what this movie is about. This guy, Mark Kerr, had so much potential. He was at the peak of his career, but other issues, like with his him being addicted to painkillers, his relationship being toxic, him not being able to stay focused and train properly, that's what interfered in his career, and that's what stopped him from being the best fighter. So what I will say about this movie, The Rock's performance. So I like The Rock in this movie. I think that he did a good job with just showing his emotions and his range, but there was a couple of times where we had that when he was crying. There was two scenes that I'm thinking about, and there was one scene when he was in the hospital, and this happened. Like he ended up going to the hospital because he had a drug overdose, and his friend, his friend slash trainer, who would he's also a former MMA fighter. I'm trying to think of his name. I think it is what is his name? It's Mark Coleman, and Mark Coleman is played by Ryan Bader. And I thought Ryan Bader did a great job in this movie. And Ryan Bader is a MMA fighter, so I thought he just did a really good job, and I think this was his first time in a movie, so I was really impressed by his performance. But anyway, so this hospital scene, Mark Coleman is there with Mark Kerr, just to check on him, to be supportive as a friend, telling him he's going to get through this, and The Rock is crying, but you don't see any tears, and he's holding his hands up in front of his face, and then you see, like the last few seconds, he's put his hands down, and there's no tears. So I'm like, okay. And it was also like that scene, it made me laugh as well because it just was like, it was, to me it was a little cheesy, just a little cheesy. But I will say that The Rock was serious. He showed his range. He was intimidating, aggressive when he needed to be. So I thought he did a good job in that area. Do I think his performance is Oscar worthy? No, it's not. It's really not. I think that we need to see a few more other serious roles from The Rock to decide that. And also, the thing about this movie that was just so annoying to me, the one thing, or just one of the things that I didn't like about this movie. So Emily Blunt, she plays she plays Mark Kerr's girlfriend, Dawn Staples, and she in The Rock, they like their relationship. It was just so annoying at times because you see the first scene when the first scene with them and they're arguing. You're like, okay, and then there's the next scene you see them, they're fighting again. And then you're like, okay, then there's three scenes they're fighting. There's a third scene where they're fighting, and then you see The Rock training, you see him fighting, and then the next scene he's fighting with his girlfriend, and then it just goes on and on. That was just too excessive. And I know that this movie is based on Mark Kerr's life. I get that, and I understand that people are going to be in toxic relationships that happen. So I like that they showed that in the movie, but it was just too excessive. And this movie was 2 hours. They could have cut this movie down to 1 hour and 30 minutes or an hour and 40 minutes. They could have just reduced some of that craziness, with the relationship. And the thing about the relationship with Mark Kerr and Dawn, things they would talk about things sometimes like about the the Rock, going out partying and just doing drugs big time, but you wouldn't see it. They would just talk about it. You know what I mean? So I feel like, if you're gonna, if that's something that's really important in the movie, how Mark Kerr, how he struggled with addiction, how he struggled with painkillers, why not show some of that instead of like, there's one scene, okay, he's fighting, then the next scene, his girlfriend is yelling at him, and then you just see him like, oh, I'm trying to get over this, I'm trying to make things better. And there was one point in the movie where he went to, after his drug overdose, he went to rehab. And then that scene with Emily Blunt, I was just like, this is just way too much. So that's one thing I didn't like about the movie. Also, I'm just thinking about like the fighting, the matches in this movie. I don't think they did a good job with the fighting. I wasn't really crazy about it. I wasn't like, invested into the fights. Like maybe like a couple fights were like okay, a couple scenes were okay, but it just wasn't really focused on the fighting to me. I don't like how it was executed. And then also the music during the fights, like it was just really questionable. They were playing jazz. I like jazz. I love jazz, in fact, but I just feel like it was not fitting for these fighting scenes. So that just did not make any sense to me. And then the fact that the flow of this movie, I feel like it didn't have a good flow. And I feel like it was, boring at times because we had some good performances, minus the toxic relationship between Mark Kerr and Dawn. That was just like I said, it was just too much. But it just this movie did not land for me. Like I feel like it was an all right movie, but the fact that it was over 2 hours, it was like 2 hours and 3 minutes, including credits. I just feel like they just couldn't stay focused, and I feel like with movies sometimes, the fact that Mark Kerr, he wasn't a perfect person. I like how they did that, but it just like the build up to the emotional, aspect, and to like the craziness that was going on in his life. It didn't really hit that. We did not. I didn't find it that intriguing, and that it didn't reach that point that it should have, because this is maybe, I know a lot of people are saying this is the Rock's best performance, and like I said, I feel like he did a decent job, but because of all the, like with the scenes, how they would just put together, and how the fact that the movie didn't have a good flow to it, I feel like this was definitely a missed opportunity. Right now, I believe last time I checked it, the movie has made $7.3 million worldwide. The budget was $50 million. So I'm really hoping that the movie does turn around. It's this is the movies. It's been out now for what, like 2 weeks coming up now. So I hope that they will be able to turn it around. But this movie was okay. It wasn't anything special. It didn't bring anything new. But like I said, some decent performances. But this was definitely a missed opportunity. Take care and have a good one.